Hello again, everybody. Welcome to the third panel of this stream. I am joined by another set of beautiful beings, lovely, lovely people. We're going to introduce you to all of them in just a moment. But if you don't know me, hello. My name is Paige, or Arthremis. I'm the host of this stream. The name is a mixture of arthritis, which I have, and Greek mythology, which I studied for quite a few years, which I love. I live with 2 chronic illnesses, fibromyalgia and psoriatic arthritis, slip discs in the spine, depression. I'm also pansexual, so I just love everybody. We play a lot of horror on this channel. And today's stream is all about marginalized content creators. So anything outside of the norm, I use in very, very loose terms. Very loose, exactly. People who have different lived experiences is really the way to explain it. You know, whether we look like we're ill or whether we don't, you know, we have all got different life experiences, and that's what we're here to discuss today. So, welcome everybody to the chat. Welcome all of my guests. Hello, darlings. How are you all?
Are we allowed to speak?
You are allowed to speak. Go for it.
Hi.
Everyone seems good and happy, which is lovely. Everyone's nice, and they've already been chatting to each other. Dan, that is an incredible. I'm just loving Dan's whole aesthetic right now.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
I just saw the mug, and I'm just like, whew, my God.
All right, Dan. I have a quick question. Is that Rick Ashley behind you?
Where? Oh, no, that's David Bowie.
Okay, I couldn't tell from here.
We can never run
the
from
pimp is
Rick
too small in
Astley.
this cut. I had to make sure.
It's an easy mistake to make, I guess.
Yeah.
That
the early
would have been the
2000s.
best Rickroll of all
That would have been
time.
amazing. Just a button
That
that
would
fucking
be
slams
freaking
it. Rick
amazing.
Astley sprints through the room. Like,
Smack a button on my stream deck and it just starts playing.
That
Entire
would-
stream of DMCA struck.
All right, so
TOS.
let's
God,
kick
come
this off by not getting caught by DMCA, and we will start with somebody I've actually known for many, many years. Somebody that's very kind, usually found in a pile of white tips, runs a massive community in the game Elite Dangerous, and is just furry extraordinaire. We're going to start with Frameshift Shark. Hello, my darling. Hello, Saf. How are you doing?
It's nice to be here, yeah.
I think this might be only like the second time we've actually talked in person, but
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
yes, mostly it's just sending weird gifs to each other. So, my darling, would you tell us your name, your pronouns, and just a little bit about you?
Yeah, sure. I'm Frameshift Shark, but most folks just call me Sapphire or Saf for short. I just want to clarify real quick that Sapphire isn't actually my legal name. It's just a name that I choose to go by on the internet.
Yep.
And a lot of people have come to know me by that name over the past 3 or 4 years now. So I've kind of just come to go by it. I'm a closeted pre-transition trans woman, which also means that my family doesn't know about how I identify, which is awkward because I also live with family. My identity itself is still up in the air. It's something I question a lot all the time, but I think that's all right. It's fine to question yourself and think about things. I've studied game development for the last 5 years in both college and university, and I have a bachelor's degree in technical design. I work on some of my own solo projects here and there in Unreal Engine and Unity. And like Paige mentioned, I also run one of Elite's largest LGBTQ plus friendly communities in the form of a group called White Tip Operations. I'm super proud of that. Like,
Yes.
all the people in it. It's an amazing place just to hang out with other people.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Saf. And I do like the image you've chosen there. If you do like sharks and art, Saf always has different shark themed space art on their Twitter, which is excellent. And obviously they've been very helpful and put all their tags right on their image. So that is excellent to see. Now, Saf, why did you want to take part in today's discussion, apart from me bugging you on the internet?
Yeah, apart from waking up one morning and just seeing Paige like, hey, do you want to join the stream? Yeah, I just wanted to share some experiences about like myself over the past couple of years, how I discovered my identity, I guess, how I question things and think about like where I want to be, who I want to be, all that kind of stuff. I know that there's a lot of people out there who are also in that questioning phase who need someone to talk to about it, who maybe is in a similar situation. And I just feel like my advice isn't great, but I can give what I've experienced. And I think even just small little amounts of information like that are very useful.
Mm.
Like as long as I can help someone out if they're questioning themselves, I think that's a positive in my book.
Yeah, definitely. We've all got different experiences. No matter where we are on our journey, there's always something that somebody else can learn. And it's what we were talking about in the last panel as well. Just sharing what we can might help somebody else start on their own journey. So anything,
Yeah.
it's fantastic.
It's like I said, I'm not the greatest person to come to for that topic, but I still have experiences anyway, so I can still lend my voice, I suppose.
All right. So, where obviously, I'm not going to ask you the question where can people find you online because all your stuff is right there on on your image. So that's nice and simple, sorted out. Let's just go straight to the last question, which I think has been the most difficult so far. Of the last year, what has been your favorite video game to play?
For me, I've got several, but I think my two big ones that stand out. Obviously, Elite Dangerous is one of my favorite games. I've been playing that since launch day, since the alpha back in 2014, I think. So I've been long stay in that. But I think if you really held it against me and said pick something that came out in the past year, even though it's in early access, I think Satisfactory is my favorite game right now.
Fair enough.
It's just I love the development team for it. They are really open to hiring LGBT plus staff. Like their community manager is bi and open about it as well, which is great. And it's just a game that I can sit down with at the end of the day and just burn a few hours playing non-stop. Just all the little puzzles and stuff it offers. It's a great game for me.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Let us go on without ado to a new friend of mine who has been absolutely lovely. They've been so sweet to talk to. And as I say, I've met so many new people doing this stream, and everyone's been a fucking delight so far. So, the Cornish Knight, hello.
Hello.
Hello, Cornish. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Fantastic. So, can you tell us the name you go by, just what your pronouns are, so everyone can address people correctly, and just a little bit about yourself?
So I am Jack, or the Cornish Knight. I also answer to Cornish or Cornhole. That's been a favourite on occasion. My pronouns are him, her, and I am a variety streamer. Mainly I say variety streamer, but I mainly focus on sort of RPG, simulation, strategy games.
Awesome, fantastic. Why did you want to be part of today's discussion?
Because while people who are close to me and who I am close friends with kind of have some understanding as to specifically like what Crohn's disease is, as well as a few other conditions that I think bringing it to sort of like a public forum and being like, hey, like, I understand that these are my experiences. Other people may have gone through something similar, but basically just to try and help more people kind of understand the sort of the intricacies when it comes to Crohn's disease and the after effect of treatment as well. Not just what the treatments are, as well as their side effects, but also what happens after said treatments.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's a lot of, again, we talked about this on an earlier panel, but there's not much discussion or representation for what actually living with a condition is like, and how it's not just you either recover immediately or you die, and it's tragic, and, you know, like TV and things like that. It's like there is the living part of this as well. Yes. And there's a lot that doesn't, you know, go into considering what life is like. And so, yes, it's brilliant that you've come here to talk about that as well today. So, where can people find you online if they want to come and check you out?
I obviously have my Twitch channel, which is www.twitch.tv/thecornishnite. You can find me on Twitter mostly at Cornish Knight TV. And that's about it.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
I have a Facebook page, but we all know how the Facebook algorithm goes when you run a page. Pay us some money and people will see your stuff.
Oh, yes, very much so. It doesn't even work properly anyway from somebody who's an ex-CM for a big games company. It's right. Never use Facebook. It's horrible. Don't do it. Just don't do it.
Oh,
I would rather use TikTok. Right?
And all the notifications you get for the page where it's like, hey, you can 978 more people see your page if you give us £30.
Fantastic. And then 12 of them will troll me for a year. Anyway, of the last year, what's been your favourite game to play?
in terms of in terms of how many hours I've put into it, I would have to say Hearts of Iron 4.
Ah.
Or as one of my favorite YouTubers goes, Hearts of Iron 4. Which again is another military strategy game. But I mainly play with that just to mess around. Occasionally I have some multiplayer games with, but other than that, just mess around with really. But my favorite probably has to be Neverwinter Nights.
Ah, excellent.
Yes.
Brilliant. Well, thank you.
That game from the pre-EA BioWare days.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Cornish. And again, obviously,
No
this
worries.
isn't the last you will hear from everyone who's spoken so far, because we will be going back around. I'm just putting a wrist splint on. But now we go to another new friend who I must say has got an incredible, like, Ramona Winters vibe going. Ramona Winters? Where'd I get that from? Ramona Flowers. I'm thinking Scott Pilgrim. Like a very cool sort of indie vibe going on, which I'm really liking. Hello, Melodic Blue. I don't know where I got Winters from. It's from somewhere.
Hello.
Hello. How are you doing, my darling?
I am doing all right. There we go. I was like, where are my captions? Why are they captioning? I'm doing all right. I spent some time kind of lurking and occasionally popping up in the chat in the previous 2 streams to kind of ease myself in because I have been super nervous and anxious.
Yeah, I understand. I understand very much so. But I thank you all for being here today. Even if it is a bit nervy for some of you, it's very much appreciated. So, Melodic, could you tell us your name, your pronouns, even though you got them up there, and just a little bit about you?
I am Melodic Blue. My pronouns are she, her. And I am a variety streamer. I've only been streaming for about 7 months now. So I'm fairly new to being a streamer on Twitch, baby streamer. But I also deal with the challenges of a late in life diagnosis of ADHD. And about 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with POTS, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. And I am also pansexual in a straight passing relationship. So yeah, I'm a huge nerd and very silly and a soft bean.
Oh, very soft bean. I think we can all probably agree on the huge nerd part for all of us. So, but yes. So, why did you want to be part of today's discussion, Melodic?
I thought that this was an incredible opportunity to get a lot of great people together to talk about things that aren't necessarily being talked about, or if they are, they're not being talked about enough. And personally, I mean, you know this from when I first messaged you and from when I applied to be a part of this, that I agonized a lot on, am I queer enough? Am I disabled enough to be a part of this? Because I am very aware of my privilege. And I try to utilize that to try and elevate other people. But I know that a lot of the struggles in my journey are somewhat preventable. So if I can talk about that more with people, awesome. And then I also have the additional perspective of I am a parent of a daughter who has both ADHD and autism. And I also have another child who is non-binary.
Fantastic. Yeah, when you told me that, I was like, this fantastic. Like, it's so lovely to hear, especially because around the world at the minute, there's a lot of people being shafted and a lot of healthcare being taken away, especially from young people who need support, whether whatever their sex, gender is, what their health is like. A lot of people just go, oh, it's a kid, it's fine, the kid will bounce back. It's like, no, you can't. So it was so lovely of me to hear of a parent that really is taking everything in stride and doing the best for their kids. So that was so lovely to hear, Melodic. I have heard, and I'm going to put them right on the spot right now because I looked at the chat. Apparently Daydreamer Dan wants to do a Blue Steel. Oh, I'm gonna call this shit out if I see it, Dan.
I was, I was just, I was gonna just try and be silly in your chat room while listen to everyone else's introductions, but
beautiful. That was
Thank
beautiful. I think you have to be a bit poutier for the full. Perfect. That was it. That's the full, Ben Stiller there. Brilliant. Thank you very much, Dan. We'll go back to Melodic Blue now. As I say, I am a professional streamer. I embarrass everybody, including myself. So, Melodic.
I'll drink to that.
Yeah. Right. Melodic, where can people find you online if they want to come and check you out?
You can find me on Twitch and Twitter at Melodic Blue. I'm also on Instagram, which I keep forgetting. Except on Instagram, I'm melodic_blue.
Yes.
Because apparently somebody picked Melodic Blue at some point, and they're not really doing anything with it, but it's theirs.
Yes. That's happened to most people in the chat when they've explained their names. It's like, yeah, mine was taken by like somebody with a fish for a profile picture who posted in 2012. So it's like, okay, fair enough, got ya. And Melodic, what's been your favourite game to play over the last year?
I'm terrible when it comes to picking favorites. I feel really bad about anything that I don't pick.
Oh, I used to do that.
This is tough for me because like I've played more games this year than I have, or this past year than I have in a long time. Especially with streaming to keep me accountable on actually finishing games. Like I finished a Zelda game for the first time in my entire life last year. And I'm working on my second. But the game that I probably put the most hours into comprehensively last year was also Phasmophobia.
Yeah.
And I am another streamer friend of mine and I who play together a lot. We joke and call ourselves Team Softbean because we are not normally horror game kind of people. I can't usually handle a lot of jump scares because if I get startled too badly, I can pass out. And Twitch kind of frowns upon that.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But I've just gotten so hooked on Phasmophobia. I think I just hit like level 503 last night.
Woof.
And I was a thermometer main, so I'm learning to adjust. I'm learning to adjust to the changes on the beta build.
Fantastic.
But it's just so much fun.
It's such a good game. I love it. I love it so much. And I love how many people have picked Phasmo as one of their favorite games just because I'll just interject a tiny bit here, but when I started full-time streaming last year, it's because I was just getting sicker and sicker and sicker, and I just couldn't continue my job anymore. So I started to do this as a career, and I didn't know who I was and what I was doing. I was here and I was playing games, but nothing was really clicking with me or with my audience. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to play a horror game. And then I did, and I was like, oh my god, I'm so happy. And so I've just posited myself as a horror streamer now because people like horror games, they just don't like to be scared. So I'm like, I'll do it, I'll be scared, you come and chill out, it'll be great, it's fine, I'll scream, you'll hurt your ears, it's great. So yeah, I love so many people have picked Phasmo because it is such an accessible game for people that don't like to be frightened. Just because I think it allows you to it's not so immersive that you feel you are in danger, but it is still fun to be scared by. At least that's what I tend to hear from some people. So, yeah, I love that people have picked that. And yes, thank you so much, Melodic. Right. We will move on to the next person, who is also a new friend of mine, but I am loving just their entire vibe. I'm loving that they've somehow turned around to look at their shoes.
I thought Dan was next! My bad!
Dan is next, sorry, I was just trying to call you out. I've embarrassed Dan, so now I had to embarrass Cassie. You can all take your turn embarrassing me, surely, don't you worry. It is Daydreamer Dan. Dan, who has an incredible background. We've just been marvelling over this. I like the Zeb Striker. You've got a Dead End and you've got a Jolty on there as well, which I love.
I'm heavily impressed that you're able to see those those little buddies in the corner.
Oh,
I appreciate that.
I've been a Pokemon fan since I was 2 years old, so there's a lot I know about Pokemon.
No worries. Yeah, I think Pokemon Yellow was my first game ever.
It
like
was
as
mine
a
as
little
well.
kid trying
no.
to hold the freaking huge Game Boy in my hand.
Yeah,
Stuff like that.
no, Mortal
I was
Kombat
the
was my
same.
first on the Sega Genesis, so then Pokemon Yellow.
I
Yes,
just want to say, Jolteon Gang represent.
Yes. Yes, I'm
Best
so sorry I
combination.
stressed you out,
I'm
Cassie.
going to say that. Yeah.
Anyway, yes, Dan is a lovely new friend of mine as well, who I'm very happy to have met. We've already had a lot of fun, and we've barely been talking for the last 10 minutes. So,
Yeah.
Dan, welcome to the stream. Thank you for coming and being part of this. I know it's early for you.
Totally fine. This is all coffee, and I chugged it in about 5 minutes. So I'm
Fantastic.
doing fantastic.
It's all right. We'll take a pee break
wired for a
shortly.
while.
Right. Well, Dan, could you tell us what name you go by, your pronouns, and just a little bit about you?
Of course, I'd be happy to. So my name's Dan, aka Daydreamer Dan. You can call me Dan or Daydreamer Dan. I don't really care too much. Pronouns are he, him. And to talk a little bit about myself, I am a variety streamer here on Twitch. I like to try and create a very wholesome environment with all of the people who come in. One of my favorite things to do is give a compliment to anybody who ends up following my stream.
Oh.
And yeah, and then I just, I try to make a very inclusive environment where everybody can feel welcome to be who they are. I occasionally play games. I call myself a just chatting speedrunner because I am really, really quick at talking sometimes, and then people are like, whoa, okay, hold on, I need a second. But yeah, that's mostly what I can talk about. I am Korean American. I was born in America, and then I grew up here in America. But yeah, and then I'm also just to give a bit more background, I am bisexual, and I am a researcher in autism or ASD in Seattle as well.
Fantastic.
So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
That was impressive how fast you said all that.
Yeah.
As we say.
And $5 goes down to and sold to the man in the yellow hat in the back. Exactly.
I don't think you can sell the fellow streamers, not without their permission anyway, mate. So just be careful there. Just be careful. No human trafficking on my stream. Thank you very much.
Never. I would not, yeah.
But yes, Dan, thank you so much. Why did you want to be part of today's discussion? Again, apart from me, assaulting everyone on Twitter.
No, yeah. I honestly, I was thankful that you slid into the DMs, and I was like, oh, hey, what's up? Okay. But no, so we started talking, I think, about like maybe a month ago. I'm really bad with time, so I actually don't even know what that was.
Yeah, it was about
it could have been like a week ago, and then I would have been like, yeah, that sounds about right. But like about a month ago, I released this video that was something that happened live on my stream of these trolls coming in and asking me like just throwing out these really, really random like thoughts of like where they thought I was from. And as a Asian American, that is something that I absolutely love being asked over and over again. It's like, where are you from? I love that. But then Artemis reached out to me and asked if I would be interested in potentially talking a little bit about and then talking about my experiences and stuff like that. And I thought that would just be a great way for me to be able to talk a little bit about my experiences as someone who is an Asian American or an Asian ethnicity streamer here on Twitch, or content creator just in general, and talk a little bit about my experiences, because sometimes those experiences don't always get talked about. So yeah, that's the biggest reason why, and I wanted to make sure that we could give a bit more of representation when it comes to that kind of aspect of life.
Brilliant. And yes, I do love the videos that I've been seeing of people just calling out trolls recently, and just you just kept sliding off screen just saying things in Korean, and I'm just like,
exactly.
Yeah, this is fantastic. I love it. Brilliant. Prince Harriet says that they watch that video every few days. So but yes.
Oh,
so
God, I love him.
Where can people find you online if they want to come and check you out or laugh at this video?
Of course, yeah. So you can find me here on twitch.tv/daydreamerdan. I have a Twitter and a Instagram as well. You'll find me at daydreamerdan_, because just like a few of our homies have talked about already, there's another Daydreamer Dan out there who unfortunately has started posting like 3 years ago, but hasn't posted since then. So daydreamerdan_ is where you can find me on most places. So I believe that's Instagram and Twitter.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And what has your favourite game of the last year been?
Yeah, over the last year, gosh. So I would say it's kind of a toss-up between Among Us, which I've always been a fan of those like kind of like or not espionage, what's the word I'm looking for? Those subterfuge games where like you kind of like have to start lying to people and like if you are one of the imposters, like just trying to pass your way through and try and see if you can get around and end up winning that way. And I think it was also just a great way for me to end up like playing games with a lot of my friends who I don't normally get to play games with. So that's a big reason why I'm actually a really big fan of Among Us, even though it seems like such a stereotypical Twitch streamer answer to give. I love playing a little bit of Among Us. But then outside of that, I'm also a huge fan of Apex, Apex Legends. I'm not normally a big fan of shooters or battle royales, but something about that game, it could have been just the aesthetic. It could be the fact that they like give a lot of background and actually a lot of representation in like some of their characters as well, that I feel like a bit more able to connect with that game. And and I will occasionally rage out on that game and get very salty on my stream playing it. But yeah, those, I would say it's probably a toss-up between those two games.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Very lovely. Everyone that's come on the stream has just been a brilliant speaker so far that I'm just sat here like, I'll do nothing. Excellent. Great. I'm just going to open my second can of Relentless and go for it. But thank you so much. That was wonderful. And now that I've embarrassed her, I'm actually going to introduce her this time.
Hold on, I gotta
Cassie.
tie my shoe.
All right, okay, right. So the next person is hello, Cassie. Cassie,
hi.
I can't tell what you have hanging from your mic. Is it a Pokemon or is it like a Shiba Inu? It is an otter. I thought it was either an otter or a Shiba Inu because of like the white chin. I couldn't tell. But there we are. Excellent. I know Dr. K. Ross will be very excited by that.
I love otters.
I can tell. It's good. There's a lot of people. Yep, there we go. There's Kay with her otter emote straight in the chat, like ah. So
I love that. I absolutely adore that. Oh my god.
Yep, she has space otter emotes. It's wonderful. So Cassie, again, a new friend of mine, very lovely. Met them on Twitter, as this is how I meet most people these days. Cassie, could you tell us, even though I've just said it, your the name you go by, your pronouns, and just a little bit about you?
Hi, Cassie Joy. I go by she, her. I've been a streamer for like 10 years or something. 10 years in March. Something like that. I am a demisexual, biromantic, lesbian, polyamorous trans woman, or just a queer trans woman, because it's easier to say most of the time. I am a huge advocate for like queer support on Twitch. If you've been following my Twitter long enough, you see me screaming at Twitch basically daily to add a trans tag or to add a disabled tag. But also I have such a unique background growing up that I feel like I need to like just speak up for people who can't, because I'm Latina and Native American as well, but I'm completely white passing, so I have the privilege to be able to scream at cops but not get arrested for it.
Yeah, fair enough.
But also I suffer from ADHD, depression, all that sort of stuff. So I just try to advocate for people who can't, because I know that most of the time I'm the loudest bitch in the room. Wait, we're on mature now, right? I could swear again?
We're not, but you are allowed to swear. That, like, essentially...
Okay. I have no impulse control.
No, but don't worry. That's I get that. I very much get that. But fantastic. Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. I do love your shirt. That is a beautiful purple. That is really good
This
color.
is my brand purple. Purple and mint are like my colors.
Nice.
Mint.
I go for like a pink and cyan type deal. So, yes.
I even got mint pixel buds.
Dang. Very nice. So, I mean, you've pretty much already covered why you wanted to be in today's discussion, obviously, to advocate.
Yeah, when you hit me up, I was like, yes, please. I already scream on a soapbox. Hold on. Let me get on a higher soapbox to yell at everyone.
Get down off your high horse now. We need to talk. Right. Where can people find you online if they want to see you scream
instead
at
of going
people?
over all my convoluted tags, just CassieJoy.tv.
Sorted.
Everything is there.
Excellent. Again, just for my chat, if you want to get the links to everyone's Twitch, at least, very easily, just go !multi, MULTI, and that will take you to a multi-stream link for everybody. I've put everyone in it, regardless of not whether they're streaming at the moment. It will still just take you to their channel, so you can check that out there. So, Cassie, last question. What has been your favourite video game of the last year?
My favorite video game is also my most hated video game of all time, and that's
Fantastic.
Destiny 2.
Ah.
Anybody who plays Destiny entirely understands what I'm talking about.
I don't even
Yeah.
play it, but from all my friends I hear, I hate this game. So, yeah.
I hate this game, so I'm going to sink 1,000 hours a year into it.
Yeah. Don't
It's a
forget to
love-hate
leave that
relationship.
negative Steam review afterwards. Jesus. Yes, but yes, thank you very much, Cassie. And there is a lot of people in the chat just screaming, yes, I immediately love you. So, there you go. There's a lot of Cassie love going on in here. Right. Let us move on to the next person, who is somebody I only actually met less than a week ago, which is lovely because I got a message from a friend of said person saying, my friend would like to talk with you. They've messaged you on Twitch. And I was like, Jesus, I never checked Twitch. Shit. And then found about 12 messages that I'd missed. So that was good. We're going to talk to Danny UK78. Hello, Danny.
Hi, how are you?
Not too bad, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad.
Not too bad. So, could you tell us your name, just a little bit about you, and what pronouns you go with?
Yeah, I'm he, him. I'm Danny UK78, or Dan, or Daniel. So another Dan in the party.
Good name. Good name.
And I'm an Xbox ambassador.
Fantastic.
So
Yep, my husband's name's also Dan, so I'm sure he'll run upstairs like, what? At some point.
there's
So
plenty of us about.
Brilliant. Not a problem. So, why did you want to be part of today's discussion?
Well, I'm very pro promoting anything to do with disability, whether it be through physical or anywhere on the spectrum. I've got a lot of close friends as well that identify differently to what is known as the norm, shall we say.
Yep.
So it's nice just to sit on their side really and give them a voice that they can't normally have.
Fantastic. Yeah, advocates are always needed because it is sometimes very scary for some people to actually say, I am this person, this is me, and if everybody else just then goes crickets, then you become a target. So yes, sometimes we do have to advocate for each other and stand up. That's very much what this stream is all about. So it's lovely to hear it. It's lovely to hear it. Where can people find you online if they want to come and say hello?
Well, most of the time I don't actually physically stream as a creator, so I'm not around as a big thing, but you can find me on our mutual friend because I tend to third wheel for him a lot of the time. So if you want to find me anywhere online physically to come and chat with in any sort of group, then you'll have to find me through Lord Lethris's stream.
Yes, and I believe Lord Lethris was in the chat, so we may be able to.
Oh, I'm
answer
sure
them
he's
as well.
lurking somewhere.
I'm sure he is, just in here somewhere. It's all right. I do have a lot of brain fog that goes along with my fibromyalgia, so I will occasionally just trip over words and like just deadpan for a moment. So I apologise if that happens, but we will get there.
Don't worry about it. I'm the same.
Yes.
So there might be a lot of stuttering between the two of us, but I'm sure we'll make a sentence somewhere.
Eventually, we will either that or just a fucking epic rap song. So we'll get there between us.
We're all mostly all content creators. None of us can speak a straight sentence. Let's
No,
be honest.
no,
I'm
literally
not even
not.
straight.
No, it is
Oh, brilliant.
it's basically a circle. Anyway, we've lost Dan, but that's okay. We will find them again shortly.
Sorry about that. Let me fix that real quick.
Don't you worry. No, that's all right. If you need a moment, you take a moment. Cognitive processing is hard, Vane. And Dan, before we go on to speak
Yes.
to... Actually, no, that's all of us. Seeing as, unfortunately, one of the other people that was going to be on this section has been quite ill, so they've not been able to make it. But shout out to Luna Bat, who is absolutely lovely and just not very well at the moment. But what's been your favourite video game of the last year?
Well, like most answers, I've got a few, but the one that I play pretty much all of the time and stands out is Sea of Thieves.
Ah, excellent.
And I know it gets mixed reviews because, as we've already spoke, Cassie and I, it was the actual background between it all that can either be very toxic or it can be quite nice. It depends on who you face. And as a gamer and not a content creator, I found it quite nice to get a community together that's actually very wholesome. So none of that actually happens.
Fantastic.
it gives a nice platform for people.
That will always happen. Any game which has an inch of PvP or the ability to bring lots of different people together is always going to have a toxic streak. Unfortunately, there's the silver lining, and then there's just a toxic rain cloud sometimes. So
There is,
yes, but it's lovely when people start forming wholesome communities. Like Saf definitely knows a lot about that as well. So it's
absolutely.
Yeah, it's really good to hear. And again, I think it's why we need more conversations like this occasionally to understand, a little bit more about the differences we all have, because gaming is an incredible tool for a lot of us, especially like if you're trying to connect with somebody, a video game can be a great way to do it, which is why I'm an ambassador for Special Effect, who are I haven't talked about them on the stream or anything like that, but they are a gaming charity for people in the UK to help disabled people continue gaming, because if you're locked in but you can move your eyes, you can still play a video game and have friends even though you can't go out. Like, for all of us, I'm sure we've found some solace in a game at times. So yes, definitely working on communities and that kind of thing is, I think, very important, and just understanding we're all different and that's okay. Not everyone has to be the same. It would be very boring.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I know for a fact personally that gaming for me was a big saviour, to be honest, especially in the early stages of my PTSD. It was absolute life, like godsend, being able to, it's like a form of acceptable disassociation, isn't it? Because you can step into the game or you can go into your different bits and pieces, and it's a nice controlled environment that you can actually physically control. So those people that you don't want to talk to, you get rid of them. They're no longer on your friends list. They can't come in. They can't game with you, and it's a nice safe space.
Yeah, brilliant. So, is everyone happy to get on to the set of questions we've had sent in by the public, or does anyone else have anything they wanted to ask anyone? Or nope, seeing a lot of shaking heads. Excellent. We will get on to our first question. So, these are all from the public, so they're on varying different topics, but we can open them out to be a little bit more expansive so everyone can answer them. Don't know how many we'll get through, but we'll just keep going, essentially. So, let's go with stereotypes, I think is a good one. What stereotypes about the kind of person you are, do you tend to come across, and what is the truth behind them? For example, in case anyone needs a little place to start from, bi people may have many partners. They can't choose. They just want everyone, is a stereotype that you may come across. Or women can be overly emotional, and that's why they shouldn't be president. These are the kinds of stereotypes we may deal with on a day-to-day basis. So what have you come across, and what is your truth? And I think Cassie's already laughing, so we'll start with Cassie.
I was actually ranting about one of these last night.
All right, go on then, Cassie.
Because my number one Instagram comment this month, apparently, is that my tits are fake, because all trans women have fake tits, apparently. No, honey, these are homegrown.
Yeah.
And it's like one of those things, like, people are like, oh, no, trans women are completely plastic. Because no. Hi, I have Skittles. This is all natural.
Yes, it's not particularly difficult to grow these. They will start. Yeah. Like, they'll happen. Like, so, fantastic. That's a really great point. Thank you very much, Cassie. Are there any other...
Yeah, that's my rant of the day.
Yeah, I mean, are there any other stereotypes about trans people that you or Saf might come across that,
I mean...
I'll let you
go ahead, Saf.
I was gonna say, the one thing that I've always came across, which it's very like an anti-trans kind of thing I've always heard from people, is that you're not trans unless you transition, which is like absolute bullshit.
Yes.
Like, that's the one thing right away. If you say that you're trans, you are trans. End of story. Like, there is no discussion on it. If that's how you feel at the end of the day, that is who you are. There should not be gatekeeping.
Yeah.
The whole proving you're trans thing is fucking garbage.
It's stupid, because let's face it, what is the brain named itself very literally. The body is just a sack of flesh, and your sex and your gender is attributed by which dingly bits you have as a baby. Like, it really does mean nothing.
Well,
Yeah,
not only that, but the brain is a 3-pound sack of jelly with electricity going through it. Of course, it's going to think it's going to.
Yes, and
it's,
it,
you know,
yeah, it needs to be very foldy and nestled in a fucking hunk of rock to work. Like, yes, it's not empirical proof of God. It's just a sack of flesh. Like, again, what you make of it is what it is.
it's just one of those
Yeah.
things. It's like for a community that prides itself on inclusivity and gatekeeping being trans or being any, like, whether non-binary or not, it shouldn't be a thing. If you say you're non-binary, you are non-binary. If you say you're trans, you're trans. It's simple as that. No one should stop you from being who you are.
No.
You have the final say on who you are. Someone else doesn't just judge that for you.
Hey, staff, tell me how you feel about the word trap.
I hate that word so much.
I fucking hate it. It's a slur.
I never
Yeah.
even knew what it meant before. Like, I am a cisgendered woman, and it was only very recently that I remembered, hey, there was a period when I was 7 where I literally thought I was a boy because I didn't feel like a girl. And I didn't know this was a real thing. It's not that anyone had kept it from me. It was just something as a 7-year-old I'd never come across. And I realised it actually very recently when setting up this stream. And I was like, oh, yeah, this whole gender sex thing is a little bit bullshit. Because at 7, I was like, I'm not quite sure this is correct. Like, yes, and so trap is a slur I never even knew existed. Would you? I don't want to ask you to explain it, but if you feel comfortable explaining what it means, would you? If not,
Okay, so
I
I figured out I was trans from streaming VR chat for like 2 years. Because obviously in that game you can get into any avatar you want. It really helps you like figure out your body. But a big thing in that community is dudes dressing up as female avatars, learning to do like the female anime voice, and going around and tricking people that they're girls. It's really weird because VR chat also has like a huge trans community, and so the line gets blurred between that a lot because trapping is a thing in like Japanese culture and like anime.
Yeah.
yes,
It's a big like genre of like hentai and stuff. So it's really fucking gross. So if you're a trans woman, you're automatically a trap because you're just pretending to be a girl in like
Yes.
communities like VR chat, and it's really fucking disgusting.
yes. To be
Like,
a trap
even
is
someone who was like always at the top of that directory. I was still getting called a trap, and I'm like, I've been out for 2 fucking years. It's inevitably why I stopped streaming that game. But
yes,
The other thing as well that people don't talk about is it's literally a word that can get people killed.
yes.
Like, my fiance lives in a part of America where if she comes out as trans, if someone finds out that she's trans, she can be killed for that, and that's atrocious.
Yep.
And it's because of words like that that cause that mentality of like pushing people out of the community, like the LGBT community and all that. It's not right. It's not on. Like, words
Yeah.
like that have no place in the this community at all.
Yes.
I also live in a place that I'm very likely to get killed if anyone ever found out I was
Yeah.
trans. I'm lucky to be like extremely passing, but like when I first started transitioning, I got harassed by like dudes in big pickup trucks all the time
Yeah.
threatening me.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that, like, most of the time, because of all this stuff, trans people's lives are literally on the line
Yes.
every day.
Yeah.
And it's not something that people think about, and that's definitely something that needs to be brought to light, is that this is a thing that happens. Trans people, LGBT people in general, are shot because of this, day in,
Yes.
day out. There's always news articles every year, there's always a shooting somewhere, and it's sad. It's genuinely sad that this is a thing.
Yes, I think a lot, especially like branching it out to LGBT in general, I think a lot of hate comes from people being afraid and not understanding. I don't know if most people who say horrible things about LGBT people are actually horrible people, but I genuinely think they are very scared and don't quite know what to do with whatever's in their brain. So they use words like trap because they've been lured into having these thoughts and feelings. My God, and it's not the case. People really need to look
Yeah.
inside
It's
themselves a
why
little
we-
bit.
It's why we push so hard for the trans tag too, because we even have that like in the LGBTQ community, like TERFs are a real thing. Like it's
Yes.
destroying trans care in the UK
Evil.
right now.
Yes.
So like that's why like we want the trans tag so bad, because trans struggles are very different from like being gay struggles.
Yes.
And having our own space is super important for that.
Yeah, very much
It's
so.
something that I've seen from a straight male point of view. with the LGBT community is that a lot of people that end up getting involved with the LGBT community, they don't know how to accept what they're feeling, acknowledge it, and move past it.
Yes.
It's a fear factor that hits them, and then it's the extreme reaction that is then causing a lot of the problem for the community.
Yes. Being LGBT is not your entire personality. There's a lot more to every person. It may be a big part of your personality, but it's not all somebody is. And that's not something to be frightened about. And if you are frightened by it, that's also not something to hate yourself for. It's something to realise maybe you should talk to a therapist or somebody in the know and to address it in yourself and not to lash out at others. Because it's not their
welcome to
fault.
personal growth.
Yes, it's not their fault you feel the way you do. So,
yeah.
Would anyone else like to chime in on stereotypes that they come across and the truth behind them? I know, like, Dan, obviously, I don't know if you have anything specific, but you get the, what kind of Asian are you? It's like...
Yeah.
Does
so
it fucking
when it comes
matter?
to in my mind, when I saw this question, I thought it was like a fantastic question, just because there are a lot of different stereotypes when it comes to being someone who is an East Asian, like of East Asian ethnicity and stuff like that. And something that I still like ever since I was like a little kid that I've always struggled with is that I've always kind of felt othered to a certain extent, you know, while there are a lot of different even at this point, I think there are like fourth generation Asian Asian families who live in America, you know, with kids with grandparents who were born here in America that are still kind of like viewed as like not actually being from the country that we are from.
Yes.
And then of course with that question, even though it seems so mundane on the surface of being asked like, oh, where are you from, like oftentimes it's one of the things that ends up becoming such a huge it ends up becoming such a huge like point of like frustration and annoyance for a lot of people of color, because it just becomes something. It's like, well, do I not look like I should be here? Is that what you're trying to imply? And then of course, whenever I try and give them the spicy answer of like, oh, you know, I was born in this city, or I was I've been in Seattle my entire life or something like that, always seeing them kind of fluster over their words and trying to be like, oh, I meant like, where's your grandparents?
Yeah, where's your family from?
Yeah, exactly. Like just try like continually going back, like great grandparents. Like how far back should I go before I get the answer I'm looking for?
Yes. What part in your lineage did you not look white? Could you explain that to me? No, that
exactly.
Yes.
And to that point, like when it comes to those kinds of stereotypes, I don't know if there's any real truth behind any of that. Obviously, I am very proud of like the culture that I've learned growing up, being something that I kind of looked down on for a while. Like I would say like the first like 15, 16 years of my life, I was actually very I was sad sometimes to be Asian American, and like to be called the whitest Asian that I know was like one of the nicest compliments for me back when I was like in middle school or high school. And then, but then it just kind of got to a point where I started to realize like there is a lot of internalized racism, not only in other people, but in myself to a certain extent, of like the way that I have been taught through both media and people in like school and stuff like that. And it was something that I had to kind of like look back and try and start realizing, wait a minute, there's nothing wrong with not looking white. And so when it comes to this question of like, what's the truth behind any of these stereotypes and stuff like that, I would often say there isn't really that much when it comes to at least the stereotypes regarding my race and ethnicity that I find that much truth behind, because it is just there's a lot of basis of a lot of othering. And then I've also talked about other things like fetishization and like which unfortunately happens a lot too. And sometimes it's almost seen as a bit more acceptable just because there are things like K-pop and that are kind of like making it a bit more okay for people to start realizing that, you know, it's okay to ask these kinds of questions sometimes. But people not necessarily understanding the ramifications of asking these kinds of things and the othering that does end up happening from a lot of these things.
Brilliant.
But yeah.
I really appreciate that explanation. Really. Oh, wait, hold on. We've lost someone again. Right.
We lost Cornish. Yeah.
That's all right. We've lost Cornish. All right, friends. This happened before with Mouse.
They're in the live stream box. They're in the holding box.
It's all right. Yeah, I figured. Right, let me just go to the BRB screen so nobody sees our sordid conversations.
Oh.
Don't worry, I'll move you. Right, give me 1 sec. You can still hear everyone. Don't worry, you can still hear us. I just need to, again, make sure that nobody's personal details are being put on a stream.
Hello.
There we go. Right, you made your way back, Cornish. Don't you worry. There we go. There
Welcome
we
back.
go. How was your trip?
Unexpected.
Unexpected. Fantastic. Excellent. But yes, thank you very much, Dan.
I have a habit of clicking things when I shouldn't be clicking things, and that was one of those things.
It's okay. I'm over here fidgeting with something that lights on fire, so I probably shouldn't be, but I need a hand fidget right now.
Fair enough. That's I do that a lot. I just end up clicking.
I'm
my
just over here with
knuckles.
my Zippo, like flicking it open and closing it.
Please don't set yourself on fire on stream. We've nearly had human trafficking. We've had somebody disappear on us. But like, no, let's not have any of this.
This is group 3. This is where
Nobody
it all
get me
goes to shit
banned.
page.
We'll fall apart here.
It is
like-
the magic number.
That's fabulous. The next one I'll hold at midnight just to be careful. Right. Anyway, so who they had their hand up next? Who wanted to address? Dan,
Oh,
go
well,
on, love.
go on. The biggest form that I came across was I was a police officer and in the UK, and not only that, I was part of the armed response teams. So it's a very, very testosterone-filled environment. And the minute that gets broken, you find who your true family and link is and where you fit within inside that big circle. What I found is when I came here with PTSD, what they didn't like was the fact that there was mental health issues, and the police, even now within the UK, hate mental health. It is the biggest stigma that can be placed upon anybody, and it drove me to becoming a representative for mine within the blue light community,
Oh wow.
as they said. But even with the power of that and all the subjects you go with, all the bits and pieces, everybody likes to pay that kind of face value to what's going on. And what I found is that a lot of the higher ranking officers within the police would all be like, oh yeah, it's always fantastic, we'll do all this. The minute you step away from that, and the people that actually run the job day to day, as you come down the ranks, it doesn't exist. So
Yes.
you find yourself being pushed to the sideline and everything else that goes with it. And no matter what you do to prove yourself to come back from that, there is always going to be what they class as a weakness to the stigma. So it's a bit of an area that you can't really tread out of once it's there.
No, I very much appreciate you talking about that because it's something we were discussing on a previous panel. One of our guests had some trauma to do with the police basically abusing her over mental and physical health. And, you know, again, I think it probably does come from a place of fear. There is a lot of toxic masculinity, especially when young boys are told, no emotions, you can't cry, no, you can't have long hair, you can't play with this Barbie, well, are you gay? And it's like, no, this is a child. Like, again, I think things are starting to change a little bit. It is better for, I think, kids in a lot of areas. But again, and I will say it just plainly, it's not manly or unmanly to cry. Crying is a response to an overdose of bloody chemicals in your system, forcing you to relieve stress. It doesn't make you more or less of a man to cry or to understand mental health. And health is just that, whether it's mental or physical. The brain, as Luke and I said earlier, is a piece of flesh in the rest of the body. So your mental health is your physical health. But it's easier to segment it because that way you can put part of it in a box and not deal with it. So yeah, I very much appreciate you saying that, Dan. Because somebody has to be an advocate, and unfortunately a lot of people that claim to be advocates are just being performative. Which
it does, especially within big organisations. It's a nice tick in the box for that promotion or to get you further up the chain that you need.
Yes.
Or you want to be away from everything.
Yeah, so, yeah, that's definitely a good one to come across. Does anyone else want to chime in on this one? Go on, Melodic.
Well, in regards to stereotypes, not specifically that one, but in regards to stereotypes, first off, squirrel, right there. People just think of ADHD as, oh, you just can't focus, or you're just distracted, and it's just squirrel, when there's so much more to it. Also the myth of, oh, ADHD only happens in kids. You grow out of it as an adult. You can't have ADHD as an adult, or you can't have ADHD as a woman. When statistically, assigned female at birth people are just as likely to have ADHD as assigned male at birth people, but they are less frequently diagnosed because it presents differently.
It's like strokes.
Yeah, and the same as autism as well. It's usually less diagnosed in women because it presents differently, or may present differently. I'll say.
And then it goes a step further too, beyond sex. It's also white children are more likely to be diagnosed with ADHD, and children of color, particularly Black and Latina kids, are more likely to be branded as problem children instead, and overlooked and not diagnosed.
Yeah. Thank you for saying it so bluntly, because it needs to be said. It really does need to be said.
I was the problem child because I was the Mexican boy in class that acted out. And now that I'm a woman, it's damn near impossible for me to get an actual diagnosis.
Yeah. I've really recently started looking at being, going to a doctor to be diagnosed with ADHD, because again, like you said, squirrel, I didn't know what ADHD really was. And then I started going, all my memory issues, maybe they aren't to do with me not being on this certain medication. All these issues with hyperfixation, maybe they aren't just because I like to study or I'm a bit of a weird kid. No, maybe I'm legitimately having issues and actually have ADHD, and I just don't know. You know, like, because you always hear like, oh, they were a gifted child. It's like, no, they were having trouble. Like, they aren't gifted, they're messed up.
Burnout syndrome.
Yeah. Yep. So
yes. I wish it was just squirrel. My life would be a lot less dysfunctional if it was just squirrel.
Yes.
Like, having untreated ADHD is debilitating as an adult.
Yeah.
Like, literally will destroy your life.
Yeah. And
absolutely. Yeah. It is so pervasive. I had no idea until a few years ago just how much of my life it touches, because people don't even realize that there's multiple types, that there's an attentive type. All they think of is the hyperactive, and they're just, oh, you just bounce off the walls. No, there's so much more than that. There's the inattentive type. There's the combination where you have a strong presentation of both sides consistently, and it can change from when you're a child to when you're an adult, because I presented combination type when I was a kid. We didn't know it then, and I'm inattentive type now. And especially with like the gifted kids, or the ones that were put in the gifted program, you don't get called out for ADHD because you're performing well enough that you're able to just kind of do it and throw the information out there and get the grades or do the test scores. But I'm willing to bet that most of y'all were probably terrible about turning in homework. I know I was. And I had no idea that was executive dysfunction. Yeah. I didn't know what that was. I didn't know how ADHD could cause anxiety. I didn't know how it could exacerbate my existing anxiety, and how they can play off of each other, and rejective sensitive dysphoria.
I just remember.
I didn't know that's how hard, or that's why I feel things emotionally to like the 11th level. Especially with rejection. Even when I ask for feedback, it takes a lot for me to push the feels away, because even when it's totally valid and I accept that this is legitimate constructive feedback, it still feels like a knife to my chest.
Yeah, the amount of times I've sobbed in the work meeting when someone said, this was good, but, and I'm like, what? There it goes. And sudden rageful anger, and I'm like, somebody just said, but you could have been neater. Like, Jesus Christ, calm down.
Yeah, want to watch me go into a depressive spiral for 5 days? Just tell me you didn't like something.
Yeah.
Like, it could be the most minute thing, and then fucking RSD kicks in, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, which is like, I just actually remember them being 7 and being kept back behind in class because I couldn't colour in the lines, and I was like, why is this important? But they were like, no, your trees must be coloured correctly, and I'm like,
because
this
when
is
they
math
diagnose
homework.
children with ADHD, it's about fucking test scores. They
Yes.
do not care about the children, at least over here.
No.
They don't care about the kid. They
I
just
don't
want
know.
the school to have better test scores.
Oh
Right.
yeah, don't worry. The mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, but I fuck if I know how to pay taxes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Fucking exactly.
Let me just interject quickly for 1 second, because I've got another 15 minutes on this, but I would just like to say, if there's anyone in the chat who is finding that this is maybe, brought them to think about something, or perhaps has been triggering in any way, or has caused them to become concerned or upset, if you type in !I need help into the chat, that will take you to a big webpage full of links for helplines across the entire world. Most of them are free to use, some are web chat, some are text, some are email, some are drop-in. Most of them can be accessed very quickly and easily without, having to get police involved or anything like that, which can be terrifying. If anything that we've spoken about today has caused you to realize you need to speak to somebody, though we are not licensed to help, and it's not an appropriate platform for us to do that right now, there are people that can help you, so please do reach out if you require any assistance.
Like, we as content creators can on occasion be a shoulder to cry on, but we are not in any way
Yes.
legally able to give
Yes.
you any professional sort of help that you may need. So
Plus,
there are resources
yeah.
available.
And
Please
it's-
do.
To be entirely blunt, as the blunt person here, I have way too much baggage of my own. I cannot help
Exactly.
you with yours.
Yeah.
It's not fair because you may just think, oh, it's just me, but it's not just you, because it's everyone else thinking, oh, it's just me. And we don't want to be unkind, but we are human beings dealing with our own shit as well, and we can't have your shit at the same time, which is why it is kind to ask sometimes, do you have enough energy for me to rant about this? There are some people you can just blur to, because like my friend Dr. K. Ross, I will just randomly message her like, fuck this, but I'm not going to randomly do that to any one of you guys, because I haven't set that boundary. So just realize that other people, especially content creators, we're trying to do a show, potentially work, potentially manage this, potentially manage a troll, then we've got the dog barking. Just try and be kind and realize that we can send you to the right people to help you, but we may not be the correct people at the correct time.
If you are suffering mental health, which is where I could mainly come from, then the most important advice that I could possibly give to you now is to get yourself a support network that you trust.
Yes.
Keep it as small as you personally need to have it to make sure that you are okay. And if that bubble of yours forms, the people in that bubble will not necessarily judge you. They will not do it. The answers you get may be harsh, they may be truthful, but no, they always come from a place where you're loved and you're safe.
Yes. So before we go on to another question, because we do have a little bit longer, Cornish, is there anything you'd like to add around sort of stereotypes? If there's anything that you experience.
A little bit, yeah. So I've suffered since I was 7 years old with Crohn's disease, or IBD is the umbrella term. So hence, this is why the bags under my eyes have bags. I wake up this tired. And it got around school. This would be in secondary school, and some of the more kind of, I guess I can only kind of really relate this to UK people who are about my age will understand this. But I was in year 10 at the time, so just started my end of school exams, or at least the preparation up to them. Why do we need another year to prep for those? It's ridiculous. And I had this kind of jumpity upstart girl come up to me and be like, "Oh, I've heard you got Crohn's disease," and I went, "Yeah," and it's like, "Oh god, I would love it. I'd love to stay that thin."
Oh.
I was just like, "Excuse me?"
Jesus Christ.
That makes me need to go back back in the closet.
Thank you,
But yeah,
Cassie.
Sorry, that's fucking terrible.
Yeah, that.
Oh.
Jesus, I'm sorry that happened to you, darling.
Yeah. But yeah, there have been things like that, and I'm like, really? Do you want it? Because up until 2014, I never weighed above 7 stone, which is about 40 kilos.
Mm.
So maybe I want to say 100 pounds. The Americans. I'm not entirely sure what that conversion.
Thank you
rate
so much.
It's low. That is low.
Yeah,
That's-
you
That
saw
is
me
low.
googling off to the side. Real
That's
quick.
the average.
That-
That's the average weight of maybe a 13, 14-year-old, maybe. And that's one that's like 5 foot or shorter. So
Yep, and I
that's a
was
very
5
low weight.
I was 5'6" at the time.
So you were quite chronically underweight then.
Yes.
Yes.
Like there were times where there were a couple of jokes in my family when, particularly when we had like, because I live on the coast, I live in Plymouth, so we had so because we're so close to the sea, we often had like gale force winds on a regular occasion. Well, jokes among my family that would hold on to me extra tight to make sure it didn't blow me away, sort of thing. Which was as a kid that was kind of a way to kind of cope with it.
Yes.
But it's like, yeah, is it fun? Is it fun having an NG tube to have your stomach pumped full of nutrients because you've been told that you're not allowed to eat because you need to give your your systems a rest, sort of thing. And yeah, all sorts of other things. Like I obviously managing with chronic illness, I've had it must be really nice to stay at home all day and not do anything. And all that sort of bollocks. And
yeah,
it's like,
everyone's enjoying that so much with COVID, aren't they?
oh no, like. So this is going to be a very weird thing. It's also touching on mental health a little bit. I have not had the best year for dealing with my depression and my anxiety until we had the first lockdown back in March 2020. I just had that sudden, I'm really happy. Because all of a sudden that anxiety, that fear, and everything that I feel on a day-to-day basis, everyone is experiencing. And it was like, oh,
yeah.
Now everyone knows. Now everyone will have some sort of sympathy. I say 75% of the reason for my good mood was that. The other 25% was schadenfreude. I'm not going to lie. People who go out drinking on a weekend and realize that's not actually a personality trait.
Yes, alcoholism isn't your fun side.
Yeah, but as I said, there was it's 75%. Oh my god, everyone's now experienced it. Everyone knows what it's like to experience it. In my sort of what's in my daily life, all the time. And even those who scoffed at it and were like, what do you mean? Oh, you're just sad. Go outside. All that sort of bollocks.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, oh, this is what it's like. Oh, this isn't nice.
No.
And I'm like, yeah, it's not nice, is it?
Yes. And I will say, for those of us with chronic illnesses or disabilities, yes, we knew how to cope with the lockdowns initially, but the worst part is people going, but you're used to it. It's like, yes, we're used to being inside. Doesn't mean we want to be. Those small freedoms we had. I don't go out much. The last one time that I went out properly for a day out, I fell over and ended up in hospital. The time that we could go outside was very precious. We don't have that anymore because nobody else will fucking sit inside for a few weeks to allow us to have it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not because we're scared. It's because we'd quite like to not die, thank you.
Saying that we're used to it is, you wouldn't, people who suffer chronic illnesses, yes, they spend a lot of their time inside. That's fair. It doesn't give you the right to turn around and go, oh, but you're used to it, stuff like that. You wouldn't say that to a soldier who was shot in, the streets. Oh, he's a soldier. He's used to being shot.
Yeah, we'll throw firecrackers at him. He's used to it. No, that's not how you deal. That's not how you help people.
Speaking of firecrackers, I had someone I grew up with, he was a little bit older than me. He spent a couple of tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, and he came back for Bonfire Night, which is November the 5th for those in the UK.
Yes.
And when the first firework went off, he disappeared, and we're like, where the fuck did he go? And it turns out he literally just dove under a table. We were at a pub, and he just immediately just went under the table, gone. Yep. And he kind of stood back up and just went, I'm not in Iraq, am I? I went, no, you're not.
Bless him.
You know,
PTSD
like,
for you.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I'm glad he had friends with him though to at least give him that center very quickly, because I can't imagine how difficult that is. I would just like to say as well, I realised I say love, darling, and hun and dear a lot. I apologise if that makes anyone uncomfortable. I grew up a long time in Somerset where it's completely normal to call everyone sweetheart and dear and love. And some people have called me out on it before. It's just part of my vernacular, and I don't even notice I'm saying it half the time. So if it does make anyone uncomfortable, please do call it out. I don't mean to make anyone upset or anything like that. I had one old lady scream at me once in the shop. She went, "I'm not your dear." I'm like, okay, the fuck? Just buy your DVD player and leave. Like,
So the funny thing about this, I'm from California, so saying darling's like a romantic to me. My girlfriend's from like this Middle East southern region where darling's like, oh, darling, you stupid bitch. And I've been calling her darling for 2 years,
Oh,
not
no.
knowing that it was like triggering her.
yeah,
Oh,
where
bless your heart.
Discovered it like last week, and we're like, oh.
yeah, whereas darling, love, sweetheart, hun, dear, they all basically mean friend. They're just somebody that you feel empathetic or kind towards. So me being like, all right, you next, love, I just mean like, I'm not in love with you. I just think you're nice. Like, let's just smooth that one.
It's the call. It's also the sort of the call and response thing in the south, where the south of England, isn't it? Is it, "You right, me love? Yeah, I'm fine, me dear." You know that, and that's
Exactly.
But
But then
you may not have any sort of affection for that person. It's just just a part.
it's
of the
nicer than
vernacular.
calling them cunt, so it's probably better.
Some people do deserve that. Yeah,
But that's
so-
fine. In Somerset, you
that's
also
the
can't say
northeast.
pet. That is the northeast. You are correct. No, in Somerset, you also can't say pet a dog. You have to smooth a dog because petting a dog is sexual. So it's like, okay, cool. Let's not do that. So yeah, never go to Somerset and ask to pet someone's dog. They'll punch you. So
Welcome to regional slang.
yeah, don't do that.
If you're wondering how I got the name Dog Botherer.
All right, we've got 5 more minutes, so let's just well, once Cassie's finished dying, Cassie, stop being a dog botherer and get back. Right, let's go through one more question very quickly. We'll sort of quick fire it. Seeing as we talked about mental health a lot, it's probably the vein we'll stick with, unless anyone else has anything else they desperately want to talk about. Put that back in. As I have said to the other panels, essentially I didn't estimate how many people would actually want to be part of this, so not everyone's had a long time to speak, and I do apologise for that. I will be doing smaller panels with more time for everybody on the next one we do, which is in March. So learning curve, essentially. What advice would you all give to people struggling with mental health or who doesn't have a resource, especially based on places that you live? What can people who live maybe near where you do to get access to help with mental health? And we'll just go sort of from the top row to the bottom from what I can see. So we'll start with Cassie.
I have terrible coping mechanisms, so I have nothing for this one.
Fine, fair enough. Not a problem then. Dan?
Yeah.
Wait, there's two Dans.
Oh, sorry, I totally
Danny!
forgot the other Dan. That makes more sense that you're at the top. If we're going,
Yeah.
Go ahead, Danny.
Oh, so me. Okay, right.
Yep,
I'm
Danny.
just making sure I don't want to overspeak the other Dan as well. As daft as it sounds, when you're in that mental space and everything is telling you just to deal with it and cope with it, go against your instinct and talk. Talk to somebody. It doesn't matter who it is you talk to, whether it be a stranger on the street, your best friend, whatever. Just speak to someone, because the worst thing you can do is ignore it, because you will end up in a place that you don't want to be in and a place that you may never come back from. And nobody within your friend circle wants you to be in that place. So just speak.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Danny. Okay, and Dan.
Yes. Hi. This is my turn now. So yeah, when it comes to mental health struggles, it can be really difficult. I mean, growing up for me, I always thought that, my depression and anxiety was just me being overly dramatic and stuff like that when it came to work, or at least that's what I was told by like my parents and stuff like that. Just like, oh, come on, you're just like work harder, or like, no, you're just sad today or something like that. Just the very dismissive kind of stuff. So it can be really tough for a lot of people, especially people whose parents grew up in like different cultures or something like that, when it comes to talking about mental health. But my biggest advice is taking that first step is super difficult. it is super duper difficult to just talk to your to a counselor or even like just your primary care provider about how you're feeling, what you've been going through, because a lot of times in our society we are very much like, oh, how's your day going? It's fine. Yeah, it's going all right. You don't really want to talk about all the negatives. You don't want to talk about how you've been in like a anxious spiral for the past 3 hours because of something that someone said to you, and that it's like eating you up from the inside. So like taking that first step often is what I would say. There are so many different resources, and that is so cool to see that link in your chat with all the different like that list of different resources. That's something I like have a lot of respect for. I have like an example of that as well on my personal communities Discord, so that whenever people do come into my chat and they're like, hey, I'm having a tough time, I'm having like a really rough day, I like there's like, or even, you know, if it goes to the point where it could be something even more dangerous, I often say, hey, listen, you know, I am here for you. I'm here like a friend. I will help you smile, I'll help you laugh, I'll do whatever I can. I'll be a like ears for you to listen to, but there's much more. If you need more help, I can't give that to you.
Yeah.
And that's just honesty, you know. Sometimes like I can't be a personal like counselor. Sometimes I can be your friend and I can help you through that, but I can't give you much more than that. So I would just say the advice is take that first step. It can be really, really difficult. It can feel like you might be messing up, you might be overthinking things, but that's all you really need. Like that's a very great first step, is to just talk to someone who can help you find those resources. Talk to a provider or talk to like a counselor, and then just be honest with them.
Yeah, you don't have to tell your life story. You just have to say, I need help. And somebody is likely to turn around and go, here's something. Here's just a little something. Even if we can't help much, there's at least just a hand that can be reached out. And that first step is the most important to take. Melodic, do you have anything you'd like to add on?
Yeah. I mean, I know the dreaded Facebook, but there are actually some great community groups on there, in my experience, for ADHD. And so you're able to see a broad range of people's experiences with it. And they also frequently will talk about their journeys for diagnosis on there. There's also a comic, The ADHD Alien, which is fantastic. It's a fantastic resource, can help you kind of put into words some of the things that you've maybe been feeling that you don't know how to explain to your doctor. But I also want to encourage you, and doctor-wise, this goes for not just finding the right therapist or what have you, but also for other physical health things. Don't be afraid to get a second opinion. If it is at all within your means. I know that this is to some degree a financial privilege, but if it is at all within your means and you don't feel that that doctor is listening to you, you don't feel that that you've got a good relationship, your therapist, you don't trust them, don't be afraid to keep shopping. And medication, store-bought is great, but it makes a world of difference if it's the right one, because no medication is one size fits all. So be prepared when you start this journey, that whether it's your medication for ADHD or your medication for POTS or fibro or what have you, that first medication may not be the one that helps you. I am still on that journey, and you just have to be willing to understand that you will eventually find something that works, some kind of arrangement that works, but it may take time. And just don't give up on it.
Yes, and you don't have to be a fighter every single day as well. Some days you will just give up and lay on the sofa and watch cartoons and eat snacks because that's all you can manage, and that is valid because you can't fight every day. Some days you need to rest, but just have that little grain in the back of your mind saying, tomorrow I'm gonna try. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But it's a journey. It's a marathon, not a sprint. It won't be fixed. These things can't be fixed. They can be, you can learn to live with them. You can treat them, but they don't just go away. And the more you learn to accept yourself and understand how your journey is going to go, the easier you're going to find it to get on with. And it's still going to hurt sometimes. Like, a lot of us who have had conditions for years still rage occasionally, like, well, why me? This sucks. And it does suck, but it's happening. But
Can I add a little caveat onto
Absolutely.
Melodic Blues
Mhm.
thing about medication? That's what Melodic said about medication is also the same with other things as well. Like, I was originally put on one tablet for my depression, and I ended up having a serotonin overdose
Ooh.
because they decided to ramp up my medication a bit too quickly. So I ended up switching to something else instead, and that's worked fine for me.
Mm.
But just because one medication doesn't work, again, kind of, kind of the same thing. You know, no one medication is one size fits all. Obviously, with depression, it's a bit different because obviously you're trying to stop yourself going down a particular path with the aid of with the aid of medication. It may not, just because like one tablet doesn't work doesn't mean all of them won't. So it is a hard fight when it comes when it does come to trying to find the right medication. But when you do find the one that works for you, it's such a weight off your shoulders.
Yes.
I mean, I can only speak anecdotally from my experience, but but there is that. Like, I mean, even the same with my physical conditions. You know, the first couple of different tablets didn't work, and then I got onto the stuff that I'm on now, which kind of works, but it's a lot better than me either not being on it or being on the wrong medication.
Brilliant. Thank you, Cornish. And Saf, is there anything that you'd like to add, hun?
I don't think there's much I can add, honestly, because I'm kind of in the same boat as Cassie. I have terrible coping mechanisms. When I feel like a certain way, I will literally just go out and commission art of my persona and make myself feel good. Like, it's literally just one of those things where I'm in a rut. I don't know what to do. If I'm feeling bad about the way I look or who I am, I'll end up just finding a friend who I know who's a really kind artist, and I'll just get some artwork. So I'm in a terrible I'm a terrible person with coping with this, but I don't think I could add to what anyone else has said.
But if that is a coping
my
mechanism
girlfriend-
for you, then that's valid as well.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
my
but like
girlfriend
I
took
know
my Amazon away, and I work myself to death until I don't hurt anymore.
like
Yes.
for me that's like a financial thing though, where it's like I can get the money to do that. Whereas I know a lot of people can't. I don't think I can add on top of what anyone else here has said already, because they've said better in words than I could ever say.
Ooh, there we go. Brilliant. Well, thank you all so much for your time and everything that you've talked about, and just sharing your experiences with me and with everyone else. Again, I know this is your weekend and you've taken time out to come and hang out and be part of this, so I thank you all so much. Is there anything that anyone would like to say before we finish up this section?
Be good to each other.
Always
Wear a
bring a
mask.
towel.
Wash your hands.
And it's
Be
been a
good to
pleasure
yourself too.
chatting with you all.
The one thing I just want to bring up real quick, because I mentioned I run the Elite Dangerous group. For anyone here that's like LGBTQ plus and just needs a place to hang out in Elite Dangerous, I run a player group in the game called White Tip Operations, and we have a Twitter that's just at White Tip Ops. I can put it in the chat later on.
Yeah.
There's a pinned tweet there that has our Discord link, and we have a squadron in game. You're all more than welcome to join. We are accepting of almost anyone.
Bro. Excellent. Thank you very much, Saf. Great. And was there anything else anyone wanted to say?
Wear a mask. Wash your hands.
Brilliant. Good advice.
I think it's easier to be nicer than to be a dick online. So
Yes.
everyone
Oh, yeah.
be nice to each other. Yeah.
Yeah. You catch more honey with flies than... no, wait. No, you don't. You catch
What?
more flies with honey.
Yeah. Honey.
Thank you, brain fog. I mean, if any flies want to bring me honey, that's fine too, but... Well,
I
there
don't know
we
if I
are.
want honey from flies.
Yeah, no, I don't think I want
Yeah.
fly
Dirty
honey
little
either.
hands.
No, that doesn't sound particularly tasty. Also, it's very tiny amounts, so it's going to be expensive as hell.
It's like, we go, I try my best.
Yeah. It's like, here you go. It fits on one grain of bread. Thank you very much. Right, everybody. Thank you all so much for your time. As I say, chat, if you want to go and meet any of these incredible people, type in !multi, MULTI, into the chat, and you'll get everyone's links for the next few minutes until I update it to the next bit. I will have to say thank you and goodbye, my friends, while I get the next group in. But yes, thank you all so much for
It was
everything.
awesome being here.
Yes, and we will be back soon. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, chat.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
See you later,
Bye.
chat. Thank you to Paige for having us as well.
You're
Yeah.
more than
Yeah.
welcome.
Yeah, of course.